So I got a story to tell you that explains what it's like to teach these days and how much fun it is. Educator in the entire world is going to be able to relate to this story. So this past week, we read a story in my intervention groups called The Drip. It's about a grandma and grandpa who are sleeping, and there's a drip in their faucet, and it wakes the grandma up. She can't get grandpa up to fix it, so she tries to fix it herself with her socks and some tape and a balloon. It's a really cute story. The kids love it. Well, as we are rotating around, there seems to be a problem that I fix, and that's that the kids don't understand that in the story, they call the grandma Nana, and they call the grandpa Pop. Now, the children are not used to calling grandma and grandpa Pop or Nana, so we had a discussion in each of the groups as they rotated around. What do you call your grandma and grandpa? Some kids said abuelita, some of them said Bibi, some said Granny. Each one of them had a different name, and then they understood what Nana and Pop meant in the story. And each group asked me what I call my grandma. Well, during the first group, I just said Betty White, thinking it would be hilarious, and they would all laugh. And then I realized I was working with first graders, and they did not get that joke. So I just continued to tell all the groups that I call my grandma Betty White. I told them it was a term of endearment, like when you call somebody honey or sweetie, we just say, oh, Betty White's coming over today, and we just call our grandma Betty White. Nobody questioned it. Fast forward to the beginning of this week, when the teacher's in a big group, and she says, can someone explain to me what happens in the story, The Drip? A little girl raises her hand and says, Grandpa was sleeping with Betty White. Now, the teacher is caught off guard and doesn't really say anything, and the little girl says, and there was a drip, and Betty White got out of bed because she could not sleep. Another little boy raises his hand. He continues, she tried to fix the leak with her sock, so Betty White takes off her sock and puts it on the faucet, but it will not fix it. And all around the room, these kids start telling this story with Nana being Betty White. The teacher is just kind of flabbergasted, and she finally says, boys and girls, what are you all talking about? And I say to her, oh, I told them that I call my grandma Betty White. Boys and girls, let's talk about this story. It's Nana or Grandma. And then we kept right on going. And then the teacher came to me afterwards, and she said, oh, I'm glad you explained that, because when I read their writing pieces, when I asked them what did they learn from the story, one of the girls wrote, Betty White is not smart. And I had no idea what she was talking about. It gets better. Fast forward to today and emails. When I checked my email, this is the email that I got. Dear Mr. Brooke, no S. Last night on the phone with his grandma, Carlos called her Betty White several times. When I asked him about this, he said, you said that is what we call grandmothers. Can you tell me what he is talking about? This is why education is so fun. You know what? When I called this mother, she thought it was hilarious. Education is the best job ever. If you don't have a job yet, be a teacher. You will love it, I promise.